Thank you for joining me. Today what I'd like to show you is will be a two-part process, which is to make a mixed media block print. So what you will need is, of course, some type of surface to use to protect your tabletop or desktop. If you don't have a cutting board like this, you can also use the backs of your art paper tablets. These cardboards will work just fine. Some tissue paper, and with this is some tissue paper that I made, or should I say the design is what I did. The design I'm using is one of the block print designs, and what I did was use the leftover ink that I had rolled out and treat the block print as a stamp. Just roll ink, or in this case I'm using acrylic paints because they dry really fast. Roll the paint on there and just stamp it, and just do that a number of times with various colors. There's about 4 or 5 different colors of the same print, the same image rather. Once you do that, you set it aside and let it dry. So this has already been dried and I can use it again. So you need a surface, some type of protection, some tissue paper. That's going to be a mixed media. You'll also need a straight edge, and I suggest using a metal straight edge, a mechanical pencil because the tip stays sharp, an X-Acto knife, some matte medium, any brand will do, a brayer. A brayer is not necessary, but it is helpful. And you need some paper cut out in the size that you intend to make your print on, along with paper towels. So let's begin. You can also use a brush, but in this instance, I'm not going to use a brush. I'm just going to use my fingers. So since this is the size of the image that I want, instead of just measuring it out on the paper, I place it underneath the tissue paper, and that way I can move this around to get the desired image that I want in this space. So for these purposes, I'm just going to come close to the edge, not quite, because this edge doesn't have enough markings on it for me. So I'm going to go in some, and I can twist and turn this around. I want that background noise is what I call it. Then I just mark the edges of all 4 sides. Remove the paper from under there because this is what I'm going to work on. Line up the straight edges, or the markings that I use for the edges, and cut. And I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. This last piece is going to come off, but just in case I did some of the markings incorrectly, I'm going to leave that on there. We'll move that to the side. We no longer need that. You need the straight edge and the X-Acto knife again when you get ready to cut the excess off of this. Because I have some stuff on the back of here, I made a boo-boo and got something on the back of there. I'm going to use that side. And because I'm not using a brush, I will need a paper towel. So now what we'll need to do now is to put this matte medium on in the entire surface, all the way out. It needs to go all the way out to the edge. And that's why I lift it off the surface so that it's all the way out to the edge. The matte medium is used for different reasons, and for this reason we're going to use it as glue. Now, as you can see, some of this is not perfectly, it's not a really thin layer, even thin layer. And those big pieces will make a mess. So if I was going to do another one, I would just use this matte medium on that surface. But I'm not right now, so I'm going to wipe off some of the excess. Line up this edge, these two edges. This is my excess surface. This is a 4x4 hard. And by me going over, you can see that I have excess on both sides, which leaves room for error. You don't want bubbles, so to speak. And now that would suffice, me just rubbing it out like that, as you can see. Or you can take your brayer. This one is an acrylic brayer, and just lightly roll it. As you can see, it smushes out a lot of the excess. Just wipe that off your surface. And this has excess tissue paper on it, and I would say do not cut it now while it's wet, because it will not give you a straight edge. But set this aside and let it dry. Once it dries, you will come back with your straight edge, line it up, line the straight edge up to the card, and only cut off the excess tissue paper. I'm trying to be really light-handed with it. It doesn't leave a straight edge, but I wanted to demonstrate to you how to do it. Sometimes I set this aside for a couple of hours, or overnight is even better, before I come back and cut and make prints on it. Because this entire surface is wet, and you want that to dry completely. Mixed media, more than one type of media. So this will be a block print that we will use, and we will continue this in part 2. Thank you for joining me. Until next time.